Welcome to the channel. This is episode 3 of my Volkswagen T5 van. Let's start with the interior. So to start with, we're going to get the rock and roll bed out, full studs that go through the chassis. We need to get the spare wheel out. Once that was out, I was gobsmacked. Look at the cords on that inner edge. Why would someone carry that tyre around? It is scrap. Now that the spare wheel's out the way, you can see the little plates with the nuts on. That's just holding the chair down onto the chassis. So this should be a case now of just lifting it up. There goes one of the brackets. Perfect. So bed is over onto the left hand side now. That should give me plenty more room now to get the cabinet system up through, obviously once the bike's gone, and then I can go to start to scribe the contour of the side of the van into the side of the cabinet, cut it out, and then that should allow the cabinet to be properly flush up against this right hand side. Do I get the headlining down first before I get the cabinet in? So we have a little delivery. This is 2 sheets of 3mm hardboard. The original lining isn't actually plywood, it is the same hardboard. And this is actually a genuine Volkswagen Audi part numbered piece. So I'm guessing for like a commercial panel van, you can buy replacement bits, and then obviously someone's just carpeted over the top of it. So my plan is to just rest a sheet up on top of the ramp here, lie the original one on top, stencil it, so I've got the template perfect, cut it out, and then when the carpet arrives, I can then glue it with the adhesive onto the backing of that hardwood. Let's try a double camera angle here. So this is the existing one. So we got a relatively straight edge along this bit here. So we use that for there. And then we'll just start . So that is both the front section and the back section now templated, cut out, and looking good. I've just started on this one piece, lining up the center line there and marking up where I need to do a couple of little holes, which replicates the original one, so I can then fit the clips into my new piece. So the carpet has now arrived. Pretty good colour match as well compared to what's in the van at the moment. So we're going to try this stuff, adhesive, carpet, heavy duty, bosh. So the aim of the game here is basically just to lie the carpet down, mark out a little bit of excess all around the outside, because you're going to need to fold that back over and secure it down on the other face of the cardboard cutout. So just cut along the edge, like I say, leaving a little bit of a margin, and then you're going to apply the glue. I ended up doing a lot, going over it a couple of times, like in a crosshatch path. That way you can kind of try and reduce it from sagging later on down the line. Yes! Lovely stuff. That'll do nicely. Result. Happy with that. Very happy, in fact. So these are my downlight spotlights. So these are going to fit not flush, they're going to sit just onto here like that, but they're super low profile. The reason why I haven't gone for the recessed ones is because then you'd have to do a hole saw into your carpet and your wood, and I just didn't want to do that. These are nice and easy, just two little self tappers and a little pilot hole to feed the wire through to the underside of there. And then obviously once that's in the van itself, I'll just run the wires and tape them to somewhere near the front end. The cabinet is going to go on the right hand side, but I do need to get these lights and everything sorted first because of the height with the cabinet at the back. It's going to be quite tough to get in and secure the roof. So now that the ceiling is now secured with the help of the old man, it is now the exciting part. The cabinet is ready to go in for its first trial fit. Right, so the cabinet is in for now. Just been trying to jiggle about the location of it, and I have bought a little scribing tool. So I have backed it up against the corner of the van here, measured the largest gap, and then you set your pencil inside there with a roller ball to that gap, and then you basically transfer the line all the way up onto the cabinet. Done this a couple of times now. It is pretty scary, the amount of material we're going to cut off, and I've cut a little bit out by the wheel arch already to make it sit in. But this should be awesome once it's done, but it is a little bit scary knowing how much material I'm about to cut off. Wish me luck. So that is the cabinet etched in, or whatever you call it, scribed in to the side of my T5 van. I must admit, this job has taken a lot longer than I anticipated, but now it's in, God, it looks good. A massive thank you to my dad for helping shuffling this thing back and forth, back and forth. This thing's probably been in and out about 20 times, I would say. Little refinements at the end. The cabinet will need to be secured down into the base of the van. I do have some nice little L-shaped brackets that are 3D printed. I do think for now though, I'm going to leave that off in case I do need to do a little bit of wiggling and jiggling, because I am wanting to wire some sockets into the side of this cabinet. And also I am going to put a fridge in there. Really excited for this. A 12-volt fridge. This will be new once again to me. Done nothing like this before, but I just thought having that space there, it is the perfect spot for that. Whether you're out hiking, coming back to the van, or you're away for a long weekend doing beach stuff, anything I guess. Nice to have a little bit of veg in there, some milk, some water, some juices, and a couple of beers. On a little side note, a nice lovely 3D printed cup holder unit. The original ones here weren't that great, I must admit, the other day when I was out and about. So this bad boy should slot in there. Perfect, look at that, 2 cups, bit more sturdier because you're relying on that center piece of the tray. Pretty cool thing for less than 15 quid, banging. So now that I have this little setup going on, I am going to be planning on doing some trips sleeping away in this before it goes up for sale. So this needs some curtains. They're from Transporter HQ. They got a nice fancy catalogue with some pimped out goodies. I mean, my lights are in here, 430 quid. Not bad. Do some old Peugeot Speedline wheels there almost. I got those indicators and I did not pay £18.95. Temu, AliExpress. And unfortunately, you got a nice catalogue, but you don't get any destructions, which I could do with some for this, because I guess it's pretty obvious they're going around there. But it would be kind of nice to have a rough outline or a template or a little bit of a heads up. Well, I've laid it out now and it's kind of self-explanatory, I hope. The quality of the curtain is very good. They've got the little embroidered bits here. They've already put these little clips onto the curtain material. Obviously, you get your two. On the outer side, you have the two little pop clips and some string, drawstring to tie them back. And then we have a set of screws, 3 for each rail. And then you have some end pieces that will slot onto the end of the rail and stop the curtain from sliding off the end. And they also will come with a screw to fit into the end so it doesn't fall off. Like I've already mentioned, your little poppers, they'll go in the side panels. I think those are just spares in case you have any issues by the looks of it. And then the rails themselves are pre-bent, and then they just have what side they are. So if I just offer that up now, that pre-bent rail is pretty damn good. Obviously you can bend it slightly to the contours because your carpet might not be perfect, but instantly you can see that is a pretty good quality product. So that is the upper and lower rails in. Definitely recommend a 2mm pilot hole and then screwing down on in. So now let's offer up the curtains. That is the right hand side done. Onto the left hand side, and then we'll get onto some more stuff with the interior. So the next step is going to be wiring, and there's going to be quite a lot at this point. So with the new cabinet in and the downlights, I will eventually be putting in a 12-volt fridge into the cabinet system, but I do need to set up a leisure battery. So I've bought a sort of starter kit. I've got a load of wire here that will go from the main battery in the front through the firewall, and then we have a couple of isolators, inline fuses, and a isolator here which will tell me my voltage, this fancy LED one, and then we have a fuse board set up. I'm aiming to get all of this sort of stuff underneath my driver's side seat. I have ordered a bracket up that should bolt to the floor and then enable us to clamp down a battery. I also have a couple of different charge points, so a USB, USB-C, and some nice outer bezels for the switches and the charge points. And to kind of get this all in the same area, down under the driver's seat, we're going to have to extend and run different sets of wires. So I've taken this little side trim piece off of here. I've stuck my finger in there. There's a lot of insulation in there, in the pillar. I plan to run a switch there, a nice little rocker switch, which will operate the downlights, and then also have a Bluetooth function via a remote. But that way, as you come through the sliding door, you can just reach around, tap to turn the lights on, nice and easy. So I'm going to start with the back two. I will snip up from the connector a little way because I do still need to reuse that and fit that to like a junction box. But I have estimated along there, down there, and to there to about 3 meters. And then we'll work out doing the 4 at the front. Look at that. Crazy. Male and female together. Just chilling. You can see that I brought up a line of wire through the insulation there, and also another piece here. So I have all 6 of my wires from the downlights all connected to this little junction box, and I can dim the lights and I can turn them then on and off there. Next up is the sockets that are going to go on the side of the cabinet. I have started to mark these out. So I've gone with 3 sockets in a row. USB-C and the normal USB on 2 of them. Most stuff will be covered with that, 12 volt wise. And then the third one is going to be the old school like cigarette style one. And that is because there are still stuff like blow up mattress pumps and weird stuff that rely on that old school cigarette style lighter. That looks really decent. Happy with that. Good job done. So this is a sliding swivel base. I didn't plan to do one of these, but the more time I've spent in the van now, particularly this interior, sorting it all out, and a friend has one in his Fiat Ducato, and basically it allows, for me, these passenger 2 seats to swivel around and face that way. So the beauty of that is you can swivel those round if you're just chilling in the van or doing whatever, and you can have 2 seats facing inwards. It opens up this whole area and just makes it even more usable. I'm not actually seen under here yet. Any goodies? Oh yeah, some Rizzies. So we have 8 nuts on studded bolts or bar through the chassis there, and then we have a bunch of connectors on a little bracket which looks like I can unbolt it from the side of the rail there. So the instructions are nice and simple, clear, which is good to read. So yeah, let's start this. Doesn't look too bad of a job. And that is the connectors disconnected and pushed out to that little holding bracket. They now say they need to be reconnected up and fitted and taped underneath here towards the handbrake cable, so that way. So I've given it a quick little hoover off, just checking out the connectors before plugging them back in. And 2 of the connector blocks have a little bit of corrosion on them. So the red one at the back, if it's going to focus, there we go. So that back top right one is pretty green, and a few of the little ones there I've got some corrosion on, and then same again for that one just here, quite a bit of green corrosion in there. So although I don't have any wiring faults as yet, that is not a good thing. So I'm going to give them a good clean out, get the corrosion off them, dry them, and then reconnect them all. Quite tricky to do that on your own. I'd recommend 2 people to make it a little bit easier, because you're kind of clambering between the front and the back. I lifted off that frame and the seat belt in the end and just manhandled it over the adjuster lugs. But yeah, we are all lined up, so that's good to see that the bolt holes all match. So it's now time to put the new washers and nuts on from the pack onto those 8 studs. The nuts and the washers are now onto the studs. So let's try and operate this thing. Okay, so I didn't push it forwards enough. So you do have to be pretty savage with it. Oh, there goes my ratchet. So yeah, so push it quite violently forwards by the looks. And then, well, it's not the smoothest, this, unless it takes some getting used to. But we are there. So not the most seamless of things, but I guess with the weight and the angle, it isn't gonna be. And then you can move it forward and lock it back off in position, which I'll do in a sec. But let's have a look at it. So you've still got a bit of space in the front, so you could store stuff at night if you wanted to in there. And then, oh my God, this opens this area up beautifully. Let's take a seat. That is bloody lovely. So I'm just sat here now. I can get to the fridge, grab a thing out of there. I can eat stuff, chat to someone if I've got the bed folded up as well, so that helps with space. If you've got the dual seat like I have, or just the single seat in the front, definitely get one of these little swivel bases. It just opens up this space really well. And I think I've got some Matt Armstrong Mansouri glue there, because that stuff is just so sticky. Okay, so with that kick plate back in and that done, for now, I think I'm going to look at starting to run the positive line for the leisure battery. Now this is going to have to start under the bonnet at the actual battery itself, through the bulkhead, into the passenger footwell, and then make its way across to that corner. A very good friend of mine is kindly going to help me with the electrics. He is an absolute whiz at that. He's done his van and it is absolutely incredible, and quite a few of my friends have had a lot of help from him because he just is bob on. I will be going to his house tomorrow, so I need to get that power supply under the seat ready to install that whole leisure battery setup with isolator, fuse boxes and all of that stuff. I've also left the holes ready for the switches to go in on the cabinet. I'm going to get him to help do a nice fancy bit of wiring, because honestly that is the one thing I'm not very good at. I've started it, I'm happy with what I've done so far, but just having the proper connectors, proper equipment that I don't actually have at the moment, and getting it fitted really, really nice and smart and tidy, that just looks way better than kind of me just bodging it together. Well, not bodging it, but you know what I mean. So I've got plenty of cable to run, gone for a 10 meter. I will post a link in the description. Like I say, I'm gonna run that from the battery under the bonnet or hood, and then through a little grommet in the firewall, down this side piece, down, round here, and over there. So where I need to get to is kind of over in this corner, and there is this metal plate underneath here. So I'm going to get the battery out, move that forwards. I'm going to loosen off, well, take this trim off, loosen this. If I can pull this up slightly, and I think there's just 2 bolts securing this panel under here, drop that down, and that way I don't need to take this whole scuttle off, don't need to take the wiper arms off either, and I can just get to that grommet, which is situated pretty much about there. That is the grommet on the right hand side there, below that square, that circular one there. So that is what I'm aiming for. Just looks like 2 Torx bits, one there, and there's one cheeky little one tucked in there, which I reckon I can lever this up, maybe able to get a bit through that gap there and down to it. So yeah, let's give that a go. So we're there already. So didn't actually take the battery out, put a little cover over the positive in case anything accidentally shorted, but we're nowhere near it. 2 Torx 30 bolts, one there, one on the side. Lift it up slightly, put a tool through the vent there, and you can get to it. Just done a little hoover, as you've seen. And then here is the grommet that I need to remove. All I'm going to do is just drill a hole through the center of it, the diameter of the cable, so it can pass through it. And then I believe in the passenger side, if I remove this fuse box trim here, I should be able to see the wire come out and down. Somewhere in here. So I've drilled a hole through, so that should allow for that cable. Yes, it does. All right, so here it comes. Hopefully you can see it by now, because a fair amount's gone through. Perfect. Right, that's a case of pulling it all through. So I'm going to leave a fairly generous amount in here. So I'm guessing I'm going to crimp off this post here. And I do need to put an inline fuse in, whether or not I do put it in here somewhere or inside the cab. Maybe it'd be better inside the cab. Right, so with that now through there, I'm just going to put a little cable tie to match up with that loom harness there. I've done a little 8mm hole through the front bit of that grommet, so then it fits in there OEM perfectly. Down here, and then it's in a harness clip there, and another one in here. And then I've left a little bit of wire there to do a little crimp and a little connector onto the terminal. Super easy job, just takes a little bit of time, but just lifting up the weather strip seals, lifting up the footboards, and then just feeding the wire through basically out into the back of the van, and then that'll go nicely along to my driver's seat. To tackle that front seat, to get it off from the base, ready to look at the leisure battery install, I used a multi-spline on the back and then a socket on the front. So the fronts were actually 13mm nuts. You don't have any seat belts or fancy airbags on these bad boys. Should just come straight out. The question is, can I get it by my cabinet? Yeah. God, that was close to the camera. Yes. So I think I'm going to go for the method of fitting it on that hole there, the factory mount, lining up and marking one here and drilling a hole there. And then that there is the thread for the battery clamp to secure it down onto the base. What I'll do is, once that's all bolted in, just drill a new hole through the seat bracket as well, and then the bolt will go through the bracket, through the base. Lovely. Before we go and get all the electrics sorted, might as well get this thing inside the space for it, make sure it fits, because this is a genuine unboxing. And also check this wiring. It's rather thin wire. I may upgrade that. I will ask Joe tomorrow. That's why I thought I'd do it now, because we could end up putting a larger ampage wire in there, which would help with current flow and amps, obviously, and all that jazz. So hopefully this isn't too heavy. Ideally, you probably want to be doing this with 2 people. And that's all right. That's not too bad at all. Give it a quick check over. I'll bring the camera in so we'll have a look at it in more detail. So this is the JKF 50. I think that's 50 litres. Almost broke it already. So 50 litres, and it is a fridge and freezer combo. You can get this bad boy in 2 colours, get in silver or in this glossy black colour. Obviously I've chosen the black because I just think it will fit in with the whole attire in here. So there are quite a lot of 12 volt fridge freezer combos on the market. The main reason why I went for this one is because it's got LG components on it. I didn't want to risk a super cheap Chinese one. They're probably made all in around the same area factories, but this one with Just Campers had pretty good reviews, so I thought I'd give it a go. And as I briefly mentioned earlier, it is just literally an inline fuse for a power supply and an earth. So super simple to set up once my leisure battery setup's done with a fuse box set up. Please bloody fit. Oh my God, are you joking me? No way. That is a tight fit. I mean, I guess it has to be once it's screwed in. I'm going to leave it like that for now because we're driving, but that just about fits. Ah, what a relief. Probably should have double checked before buying it, but you kind of take people's word for granted, and we've come up trumps, so pucker. Obviously it isn't finished, however, this is really coming together now. Look how good this setup is. So I didn't actually do too much filming whilst doing all the electrical stuff for the leisure battery, but we got the battery in secured down. Joe also helped doing an inline fuse underneath the bonnet, which would go straight onto the positive terminal of the battery. And then we just started to load up the area under the seat, basically trying to work out where everything would go, wiring in all the bits, and then just did basically a little mock-up of a hardwood board piece, which I'm then going to carpet over, and that just holds the isolator and the switches on at the back base of my seat. So the grand reveal of the inside of the Volkswagen T5 van. The chair isn't in yet, however, the carpeting is done, the lights are working, the fridge is working, and we have auxiliary power for USB and USB-C in the back of this thing now. Check it out. So a massive thank you to Joe, my mate there, for helping on Saturday, because he has helped smash through this wiring. With all the kit and the knowledge, it just makes things a little bit easier. Everything is wired in properly and in a good secure location, far better than some of my wiring, I must admit. However, I am very proud because my downlight extension of wiring and routing of the switch are all working perfectly. Obviously the rock and roll switch can turn it on and off. But with this, we can adjust the brightness now, so down to 50% and down to 25%. Then we can bang it back up. The cabinet setup has had to come out away from the side ever so slightly, and that is to accommodate for the fridge, because the fridge obviously can only sit flush there to the outer to allow for the hinging of the door on that pivot point there. And whilst we are on electrics and everything interior, I have another two little things I want to do. That is this bad boy being a little CarPlay monitor setup, TikTok shop. It was £28 delivered on a flash sale, and it looks like a blinking good quality bit of product. And also just a 2 USB piece that basically fits in a blanking plug near the dash. One here. The drinks holder comes out here, and my drink obviously would be here and here. I think having it here works best for me, because a cable can then go up here or over to a passenger as well, or to the passenger seat. So that is my bad boy of choice. Any nails, because I've cut them. But basically, yeah. Actually ended up taking the radio out and the little center console piece, just so I can get all the wiring sorted. I located the little fuse box board below, and then that's where I can tee off to put the USB into. I've got a lot of space at the top here to start fitting that little Bluetooth Apple CarPlay setup. Very good build quality wise. A couple of years ago, you would never ever be able to get something like this, so mainstream. I mean, it's Chinese obviously, but the build, like I say, checking it out earlier, was very, very good. The quality of the screen is spot on. This is the little bracket with adhesive pad where I'm going to probably end up sticking it in here and having the screen above the radio setup on the dash. So by just plugging it into the cigarette lighter, just give you a quick little brief rundown of what it looks like. I mean, look at the quality. It is bloody brilliant. So obviously this is my phone connected up because I've tried it already. So all your usual bits, Spotify, and then when you get Waze as well. And the processor in this is pretty damn good as well. It isn't that laggy, which I was surprised by as well. So that is the screen mounted in line with this channel here. Let's hope the adhesive is strong enough. It is moment of truth time. So I've drilled a little hole down here, 5.5mm. I've run the little power cable from the side down through into here. I have soldered it to the positive and negative of the USB, and we already know that it goes down to the fuse box. Let's see with ignition on if this powers up and I don't blow any fuses. Here we go. It should kick into life any second now. Yes. Perfect. Come on. My phone will connect up now, I'm pretty sure. Absolutely mega. Yes. Perfect. Look at that. So the switch feed is working perfectly, pairing up with the existing radio. And that looks bloody fantastic. So I'll leave a link in the description below of the one I bought. It is probably a little bit more expensive now, but it will go on sale again, I'm sure. And you may be able to then copy the code, find it on eBay or AliExpress as well. So another little interior hack to do was a new steering wheel. So I've just gone for a facelift version, so no buttons on it. But I picked this up for £35 off a Facebook Marketplace. So it was a case of removing the old wheel, fitting the new one on through the multi-splines, and then just using the existing harness of the old one, and then just attaching a separate ground that was needed at the bottom of the airbag, and it just pushes on, fits on absolutely fine. So now we're going to put the bed finally back in the van, and that will almost finish the interior for me. So before we whack the bed back in and bolt that into the floor, let's just do a little roundup on our board, because there's been a lot of progress since I last did the ticks. So the lighting is now done. Lights are all wired in, all working fine. Lights at the front of the van, headlight wise, high beam, dip beam, and the day running lights all sorted. So that is a big tick down there as well. Storage, kitchen, worktop. Well, we've got the cabinet in, we've got the fridge in. Maybe I will at a later date put a gas hob in. I'm undecided. I might leave that up to the next person who buys this van, because this is just aimed at as being like a day trip van right now. So I'm on the fence with that, but as far as I'm concerned, that is sorted. Leisure battery, 12 volt sockets. Well, yeah, that's powering everything in here. Headlining, wood, spotlights. Previous video, I did discuss maybe doing the wooden slats in there. I don't know, I prefer it looking like this. I like that whole idea. It's kind of the beachy vibe. It would arguably make it look a little bit brighter in here, but you've got lights and I think it works well, all of that carpet. So sticking with that. Happy with that. So all that is left for this van now is the paint really. That sliding door with a crack down it. Whilst working on this van the other day, it was rather windy and the unit door swung open. I normally block it off. The wind actually overcome my blockages and it smashed into the side of the van. So I now need some work doing also to the passenger front door. So the left-hand side has taken a bit of a battering, but that will be rectified soon and you'll probably see that in the next video. Safe to say, I think I've kind of smashed this one. Been a month and a half, I think, owning this, and I'm pretty much where I wanted to be and more so. As it's gone down the line, I've done a few little extra bits that you've seen, and that's just as it's developed building it. I cannot wait to take this on a good old road trip, go down to the coast, go for a couple of nights sleeping in it, really use it and enjoy that fridge as well with a nice cold beer. God, that's heavy. On your own. So a little thing I should have done right back at the beginning before putting all the interior back together was the reverse camera that actually came with the Apple CarPlay kit. Now I wasn't too sure if I was going to fit it, but after driving the van a little while now, I realised it would be nice to have a proper good view out the back because it's blind pretty much. Ended up just taking the back number plate board off so I could screw and feed the wire through for the camera, and then it was running the wiring through the back door, which is a bit of a pain, and then down through the electrical harness tube, matching the factory OEM routing, and then running it all the way down the front of the van, pretty much exactly where the downlights had gone. So like I say, should have done that previously, but we live and learn. But once set up, I had the view really good, and look at that for a bumper gap. So that is the rock and roll bed in the van, secured down. It is blinking tight to the cabinet, but there is enough space so it's not rubbing constantly. That end where the cabinet's moved out slightly to allow for the fridge to cool adequately, it is pretty close, but the door can still open and close perfectly on the fridge, which means everything has worked out perfectly. The next video will probably show you paint and the bodywork side of it, but the main focus will be a good old road trip in this van, and I cannot wait. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, I would appreciate it, and drop a comment below. Is there things inside this van you might have done differently, or there's things that you would also improve on now? Things that I can also buy to make it a better experience. As always, stay safe. I'll catch you in the next one, and thank you very much for watching.